Captain Amanda Clark stood near the Grand Hall's entrance, watching the crowds move through the palace. Her uniform felt too tight after sitting through 6 hours of diplomatic meetings. She wanted to return to her ship, but duty kept her here, protecting the human ambassador during this boring state banquet. The crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead as alien delegates mingled with imperial officials. Clark checked her watch. 2 more hours until the event ended. She sighed and adjusted her blaster holster. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Daniel Foster, her second in command. "Those Zentari delegates keep arguing with the Dominion guards. Should we intervene?" "Not our business," Clark replied. "Let the Imperial security handle it." Suddenly, the lights flickered. Clark's military instincts kicked in. Her hand went to her weapon as she scanned the room. Something wasn't right. "Daniel, activate your comm unit. Get the ambassador to the secure room now." "But Captain," the first explosion rocked the palace. Blue flames erupted near the main stage where Emperor Zarthok sat. Imperial guards rushed toward the blast, but laser fire cut them down. Clark counted at least 20 attackers, all wearing black armor. "Contact the fleet," Clark shouted. "Tell them we have a code red situation." She sprinted across the hall, her boots echoing on the marble floor. An attacker raised his weapon at fleeing diplomats. Clark's shot hit him square in the chest. She rolled behind a pillar as return fire rained down. The Emperor's guards formed, a circle around their ruler, but they fought without coordination. One by one, they fell to precise laser strikes. Clark's mind raced. These weren't random terrorists. Their tactics showed military training. "Captain," Daniel called out. "The communications are jammed. I can't reach anyone outside the palace." Clark peeked around the pillar. One attacker moved toward the Emperor with something in his hand. A grenade. Without thinking, she ran toward the Emperor's position. "Grenade!" she yelled, tackling Emperor Zarthok to the ground. The blast threw them both against a wall. Her ears rang and dust filled the air. When her vision cleared, Clark found herself lying on top of the Emperor. His purple skin had turned pale with shock. Around them, bodies of his guards lay motionless. Only 3 Imperial guards remained standing, but they looked confused and disorganized. "Your Majesty, we need to move," Clark said, helping him up. "My team will cover us." "Who are you?" the Emperor asked, his voice shaking. "Captain Amanda. Clark, human security detail." She handed him her sidearm. "Do you know how to use this?" He nodded, gripping the weapon with 4-fingered hands. Clark turned to the remaining guards. "You 3, form a perimeter. We're moving to the north exit." "We don't take orders from an alien female," the lead guard spat. Another explosion shook the building. Debris rained from the ceiling. Clark grabbed the guard's collar. "Your Emperor is alive because of me. Choose. Save your ruler, or die here with your pride." The guard hesitated, then nodded. "What are your orders?" 2 of you take point. The last one covers our rear. Move in pairs. Keep your heads down." They advanced through the smoking hall. Bodies littered the floor. Diplomats, officials, and attackers alike. Clark's training took over as she navigated the chaos. She noted escape routes, weapon placements, and possible ambush points. An attacker jumped from behind an overturned table. Clark fired twice, dropping him before he could shoot. The Emperor flinched at the sound but kept following close behind her. "The service corridor is 30 meters ahead," she told the guards. "Once we reach it, we can—" Laser fire erupted from their left. One guard fell, clutching his shoulder. Clark returned fire, suppressing the enemy position. "Keep moving," she ordered. "I'll cover you." The Emperor hesitated. "I cannot leave a wounded soldier." "Your duty is to survive," Clark said firmly. "Mine is to make sure you do. Help him, but keep moving." They reached the corridor's entrance. Clark positioned herself at the doorway, providing covering fire as the others slipped inside. Her weapon's power indicator showed 50% remaining. The corridor offered temporary safety. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Clark activated her tactical scanner, checking for life signs ahead. "Clear." "This leads to the underground transport system," the Emperor said. "But without guards we adapt." Clark interrupted, reloading her weapon. Your security protocols are compromised. Those attackers knew exactly where to hit. The Emperor's face darkened. An inside job? Most likely. Right now, our priority is getting you to safety. Then we find out who betrayed you. They moved through the dimly lit passages. Behind them, explosions continued to shake the palace. Clark's mind worked through possible escape routes. The underground transport would be the obvious choice, making it a likely ambush point. There's an old maintenance shaft 2 levels down, the injured guard said through gritted teeth. It connects to the civilian sector. No one uses it anymore. Perfect, Clark said. Lead the way. As they descended, the Emperor spoke quietly. I have never seen such combat efficiency in all my years. Your military training is impressive. Human forces emphasize adaptability, Clark replied. We learn from every encounter. They reached the maintenance level. The air smelled stale and metallic. Pipes lined the walls, dripping with condensation. Clark checked her scanner again. Still clear. The shaft was narrow, forcing them to move. Single file. Clark took the rear position, constantly watching for pursuit. Her mind cataloged every detail, the sounds, smells, potential threats. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a utility room connecting to the civilian sector. Through a grimy window, Clark saw the city beyond the palace grounds. Smoke rose from multiple locations. The attack wasn't limited to the palace. Now what? The Emperor asked. Clark studied their surroundings. We need allies we can trust. Someone who can get you off planet safely. My cousin has a compound outside the city, the injured guard suggested. Former military, loyal to the crown. Good enough. Clark opened the door carefully. The street outside was chaos. Civilians ran in all directions, some screaming, others crying. Emergency sirens wailed in the distance. They blended into the crowd, keeping their heads down. The Emperor's ornate robes drew attention, so Clark had him remove the outer layer, revealing a simpler tunic underneath. 2 blocks from the palace, Clark spotted Imperial troops setting up checkpoints. She grabbed the Emperor's arm. Act weak and confused, she whispered. You're a diplomat I'm helping to safety. The lieutenant at the checkpoint barely glanced at them. Move along. No one stops here. They passed through without incident. Clark's quick thinking had saved them again. At the transport terminal, she commandeered a hover car using her security clearance. The owner protested until the Emperor showed his imperial seal, hidden until that moment. As they drove toward the outskirts of the city, the Emperor finally spoke. You have saved my life multiple times tonight, Captain Clark, yet I sense you care nothing for imperial titles or traditions. I care about completing my mission, Clark replied. Right now, that means keeping you alive. Then I owe you a great debt. He paused. When we are safe, I would speak more with you about unconventional solutions to imperial problems. Clark didn't respond, focusing on the road ahead. But she wondered what the Emperor meant, and why his words sounded almost like a job offer. As the city lights faded behind them, the true challenges lay ahead. The Empire had nearly lost its leader. Someone would pay for this treachery. But first they had to survive the night. Clark pressed the accelerator, racing toward an uncertain future. The galaxy's power structures had shifted in ways no one yet understood. At the center of it all, a human woman had done the impossible. She had saved the Emperor when his own guards failed. The consequences of this night would echo across the stars. But for now, all that mattered was survival. The Empire needed its leader. And apparently it needed Captain Amanda Clark too. The safe house sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Its stone walls had weathered countless storms, much like the Empire itself. Amanda Clark paced the main room while Emperor Zarthok rested on the couch. The wounded guard had been treated, and now stood watch outside. My Imperial fleet should be here within the hour, the Emperor said. Then we can return to the capital. Clark stopped pacing. With all due respect, Your Majesty, that's the worst idea possible. Your palace was betrayed from inside. Who can you trust? The Emperor's purple skin darkened, a sign of anger in his species. I am the Emperor. I trust whoever I choose. Even when that choice almost got you killed. Before Zarthok could respond, his personal communicator buzzed. General Crix appeared on the holographic display, his scarred face stern as always. Your Imperial Majesty, Crix said formally, the situation has been contained. The traitors acted alone. Your guard awaits you. Excellent, General. Prepare my transport. Wait, Clark interrupted. General, how did you identify the traitors so quickly? We barely escaped 5 hours ago. Crix's eyes narrowed. Captain Clark, I don't recall asking for your opinion. She's right, the Emperor said slowly. Crix, who specifically were these? Traitors? The investigation is ongoing, but Clark stepped forward. Your scans show no life signs at the palace. Everyone's either dead or evacuated. How did you conduct an investigation? Silence. The general's image flickered slightly. Your Majesty, Crix finally said. This human has no place in Imperial security matters. She should return to her own people. Clark noticed the Emperor's hands tightening on his armrest. General Crix, Captain Clark saved my life while my entire guard failed. She has earned my trust. You will respect that. As you command. Crix's voice held barely contained disrespect. Permission to deploy reinforcements to your location? Permission denied, Clark said before the Emperor could speak. Your Majesty, I request authorization to handle your security personally. The Emperor looked at her with surprise. You wish to be my bodyguard? I wish to keep you alive long enough to find out who tried to kill you, Crix exploded. This is outrageous. No alien, especially a female, can protect the Emperor of the Dominion. It seems this female already has, the Emperor replied coolly. General, stand down. Captain Clark will serve as my temporary protector until this crisis is resolved. The hologram cut off abruptly. Clark suspected Crix had disconnected in anger. You've made a powerful enemy, the Emperor observed. I'd rather have him as an enemy than you as a corpse, Clark responded. We need to move again. This location is compromised. Where would you have us go? Clark considered their options. We need somewhere unexpected. Not a military base, not a government facility. Somewhere they'd never think to look. The Emperor smiled, showing his sharp teeth. I think I know just the place. 2 hours later, they arrived at a small fishing village on the coast. The locals barely glanced at them as they entered a humble tavern. The owner, an elderly female alien, greeted the Emperor like an old friend. Laura, we need your help, Zarthok said quietly. Of course, dear boy. Same room as always? Clark raised an eyebrow. The Emperor seemed embarrassed. Laura practically raised me, he explained. I spent summers here as a child hiding from palace politics. The back room was simple but clean. Clark immediately checked for escape routes and defensive positions. We can't stay long, she said. Maybe a day to plan our next move. That evening, Clark sat with the Emperor in the tavern's main room. Daniel had secured the perimeter, while the injured guard watched the road. The other patrons, local workers, mostly paid them no attention. Tell me about your world, Captain, the Emperor said, sipping a local drink. Earth? It's nothing special, just another planet trying to find its place in the galaxy. That's not what I hear. Word is your species has remarkable military capabilities. Clark shrugged. We learn fast. We have to. Because you're the newcomers? Because we're the underdogs. When you're always outmatched, you develop creative solutions. The Emperor nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps that's what the Empire needs, creative solutions. Before Clark could respond, her comm unit buzzed. Daniel's urgent voice came through. Captain, we've got company. 3 Imperial cruisers just entered. Atmosphere. Location. The capital. But they're spreading out. Search pattern. Clark cursed under her breath. It's starting already. They're hunting you. But Crix said what he wanted you to believe. She turned to the owner. Laura, we need to leave. Now. The old woman disappeared into the back room, returning with keys. Take my boat. It's ready for launch. We can't take you with us, Clark said. They might question you. Let them, Laura said firmly. I'll tell them the Emperor was never here. They hurried to the docks. Laura's boat was old, but well-maintained. As they prepared to launch, the Emperor paused. I never have properly thanked you, Captain. Save it. We're not out of danger yet. No, I mean it. You've shown more courage in one night than most of my council in years. Clark started the engines. Your council might be part of the problem. Explain. As they sailed into the dark waters, Clark shared her observations. Your security protocols are rigid. Everyone follows the same patterns. It makes you predictable, vulnerable. But tradition almost got you killed. Sir, with respect, your empire needs to adapt. The Emperor sat quietly for a long moment. And you believe you can help us adapt? I believe someone needs to. Whether it's me or not isn't important. I disagree. Your perspective is refreshing, different. That night, anchored in a hidden cove, Clark kept watch while the others slept. She reviewed everything they knew. Someone had orchestrated a precise attack, knowing exactly when and where to strike. Someone with deep access to Imperial security. Her thoughts were interrupted by movement. The Emperor approached, carrying 2 cups. Couldn't sleep? I don't sleep much on missions. He handed her a cup. Local tea, good for staying alert. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars reflect on the water. Captain Clark, I want to make you my official protector. I'm already human military. I can't forget military protocols, forget traditions. I need someone I can trust, someone who doesn't care about imperial politics. That's exactly why I'm not the right choice. It's exactly why you are. The Emperor's voice was firm. Tomorrow we return to the capital, not in hiding but openly. You will be at my side as my guard. The Council will never accept it. The Council will accept what I tell them to accept. I am still Emperor. Clark sipped her tea, tasting unfamiliar spices. This will cause problems. Good problems shake trees. They make hidden enemies reveal themselves. You want to use me as bait? I want to use you as a shield while we hunt the real threats. That morning they sailed back toward the capital. As they approached the harbor, Imperial ships surrounded them. Commander Nixtar of the Royal Navy hailed their vessel. Your Majesty, thank the stars you're safe. General Crix has been searching everywhere. Thank Captain Clark for my safety, the Emperor replied. She will be accompanying us back to the palace. Sir, that's unexpected. The humans should return to their embassy. Captain Clark is now my personal guard. Anyone who opposes this decision opposes me directly. The silence on the communication line spoke volumes. Finally, as you command, Your Majesty. Back at the palace, news of Clark's appointment spread like fire through dry grass. Diplomats whispered, servants stared, Imperial officers openly glared at her. In the throne room, General Crix made his displeasure clear. This human female cannot protect the Emperor. She lacks understanding of our protocols, our weapons, our culture. She understood enough to save me when all of you failed, the Emperor responded coldly. Ambassador Karen Mitchell, the human diplomatic representative, appeared distressed. She pulled Clark aside privately. Captain, you're destabilizing the political situation. Our alliance with the Empire is delicate. My job is protecting lives, not politics. Your job is whatever Earth Command decides it is. With respect, Ambassador, Earth Command isn't here. And last I checked, the Emperor outranks them in this system. Mitchell's face reddened. You're making enemies of powerful people. I'm making enemies of people who tried to kill the Emperor. There's a difference. That evening, as Clark established new security procedures, she noticed patterns. Certain officials avoided her gaze. Others watched her too closely. Someone was gathering information, planning their next move. Daniel, she called to her second in command, monitor communications. Standard protocol changes at midnight. Anyone checking the new schedules might be our leak. By dawn, they had their first lead. A junior officer had accessed the security database 17 times in 1 hour. Your name is Veltar? Clark asked during the interrogation. I am heir to the Vel noble house. I don't answer to aliens. You answer to your emperor. Or would you prefer to answer to a firing squad for treason? The alien's proud demeanor cracked slightly. I know nothing about attacks. Then why check security protocols repeatedly in the middle of the night? No answer. Guard, take him to secure holding. No communication privileges. Later, Clark presented her findings to the Emperor. Someone's building a profile of our new security measures. They're adapting faster than we hoped. 2 weeks after taking the position, Clark stood before 50 elite Imperial guards in the training facility. Their hostile stares spoke volumes. They'd spent their lives believing women, especially alien women, had no place in combat roles. Today's exercise is simple, Clark announced. Try to reach the Emperor. Emperor Zarthok sat calmly in a chair at the center of the room. The guards formed assault teams, using their standard tactics. Clark positioned herself as his only defender. Begin, she called out. The first wave came in perfect formation. Clark dropped to a knee and fired her disruptor at the ceiling. Dust and debris rained down, breaking their visual contact. In the confusion, she moved the Emperor to a secondary position. By the time the second wave adapted, Clark had repositioned again. She used their own protocols against them, predicting their moves perfectly. One by one, training alarms sounded, as guards were eliminated by Clark's precisely aimed shots. 40 minutes later, every guard lay on the ground, defeated by a single human female. The silence was deafening. Your methods are outdated, Clark stated flatly. Predictable, fatal in real combat. General Crix, watching from the observation deck, clenched his fists. This was a rigged demonstration. Would you like to try yourself, General? Clark challenged. I don't fight with inferior beings. Then you don't deserve to call yourself a warrior. Captain Stephen Walsh, observing from the human delegation, stepped forward. Captain Clark speaks truth. Her tactics saved the Emperor when trained guards failed. Walsh had been studying Imperial military methods for months. His crew aboard the human vessel USS Resolute had shared tactical data with Clark, helping her understand Imperial weaknesses. Our navies are stronger together, Walsh continued. Perhaps it's time to admit some traditions deserve to change. That evening, Clark received an urgent summons. In a secure conference room, Ambassador Chen, we addressed both her and the Emperor. We've intercepted communications planning another attack, Chen explained. Not just on the Emperor, but on the human embassy as well. Clark reviewed the intelligence data. Black market weapons, Earth-made. Someone's arming terrorists with our own technology. The question is who, the Emperor mused. And why would they target humans too? To start a war, Clark realized. If Earth weapons kill Imperial citizens and Imperial terrorists attack our embassy, both sides would demand retribution, Chen finished. Our alliance would collapse. Clark immediately contacted her network. Dr. Emily Price, a human scientist studying on the capital world, had been investigating unusual weapon sales. I found serial numbers, Emily reported over secure comm. They traced to a batch reported, stolen from an Earth transport 6 months ago. What's the connection to Imperial space? Clark asked. The transport was shipping to Prince Velnar's mining consortium. Clark felt puzzle pieces clicking into place. Prince Velnar, the Emperor's ambitious nephew. He'd been oddly absent since the assassination attempt. Your Majesty, we need to discuss Prince Velnar, Clark said carefully. The Emperor's face darkened. What about him? Where was he during the attack on the palace? Off-world, visiting the mining operations on Keltar Prime. Convenient timing. Ambassador Chen Wei shifted uncomfortably. Captain, you're accusing a member of the Imperial family of treason? I'm asking questions that need answers. The Emperor dismissed everyone except Clark. In the privacy of his office, his shoulders sagged. Velnar is my sister's son. I raised him when she died. He's ambitious, yes. But a traitor? Family members often make the best conspirators. They have access, trust, and intimate knowledge of security weaknesses. You speak from experience? Clark hesitated. My father attempted to overthrow Earth's Eastern Coalition government. He believed democracy was too slow, too weak. I testified against him. That must have been painful. Duty often is. Their conversation was interrupted by an explosion that shook the building. Clark immediately activated emergency protocols, securing the Emperor as alarms blared throughout the palace. "Situation report," she demanded into her comm unit. Daniel responded. "Multiple breaches at the East Wing. Heavy weapons fire. Hostiles wearing Imperial military gear. Seal all sectors. Initiate lockdown protocol 7 Alpha." "Captain," a guard protested. "That's your own creation. It hasn't been properly tested. Do it. Now." Clark's new security system activated. Blast doors slammed shut throughout the palace. Automated defenses engaged. Motion sensors tracked all movement. From the command center, Clark coordinated the defense. Unlike standard Imperial response, her system compartmentalized the threat and isolated attackers into kill zones. "Emperor, we need to move to the secure bunker." "No, I won't hide while my people are attacked." "Sir, you're the target. Your survival." Another explosion. Closer. Through security feeds, Clark watched attackers breach the main gallery. They moved with deadly precision, equipped with energy shields and assault rifles. "Those weapons," the Emperor noted. "Imperial military grade." Clark made a split decision. "Daniel, override visual shields on the eastern corridor. I need full sensor data on those weapons." "Captain, that will..." "Do it." The electromagnetic shields lowered. For 3 seconds, Clark gathered complete scans of the attacker's equipment. Then, emergency protocols re-engaged the shields. "Analysis complete," her scanner reported. "Weapon signatures match prototype energy rifles. Classified Imperial Research Project." "Those weapons were never approved for production," the Emperor said slowly. "Then someone stole them. Someone with high-level access." The attack lasted 37 minutes. Clark's compartmentalization strategy prevented the attackers from reaching critical infrastructure. When they finally retreated, they left behind 17 dead and 3 captured alive. During interrogation, 1 captive broke. Major Richard Torres, a human special forces operative thought to be on medical leave, conducted the questioning. "You work for Prince Velnar?" Torres demanded. "The prince? He promised glory, a return to imperial strength. Glory through terrorism, through purging weakness, starting with that human she-devil protecting the Emperor." Torres looked at Clark through the one-way mirror. She nodded for him to continue. "Who else supports the prince?" "Many. In military, in government. They meet in secret. They plan the new order." After the interrogation, Torres briefed the Emperor directly. "Your Majesty, we're looking at a wide conspiracy. Prince Velnar has cultivated support among traditional power holders who fear human influence." "How many?" the Emperor asked. "Dozens in key positions. Maybe more." Clark studied the holographic display showing known conspirators. "This explains the sophisticated planning. They had help from inside all major departments." "We need to strike quickly," Torres suggested. "Arrest key members before they mobilize." "No," Clark countered. "We need to let them think they're winning." Both men looked at her questioningly. "We know about the stolen Earth weapons deal. We suspect Prince Velnar's involvement. But we don't know the full network. If we arrest his supporters now, the main plot continues without them." "What do you propose?" the Emperor asked. "We feed false information. Make them think their next attack will succeed. Draw them out completely." "That's dangerous," Torres warned. "Less dangerous than facing coordinated strikes across the Empire with half the conspirators still hidden." The Emperor studied Clark. "You would risk much on this strategy. I would end this conspiracy permanently. Then proceed. But Captain, if this fails, we lose everything. If we don't try, we've already lost." Over the next week, Clark carefully leaked information about vulnerable points in her security system. She made the Emperor's schedule predictable, canceled random sweeps, and visibly reduced human military presence. Dr. Emily Price, working undercover, confirmed the conspiracy was taking the bait. "They're accelerating their plans. I've tracked Increased weapon movements toward the capital. How long do we have? Clark asked. 3 days, maybe less. There's talk of a simultaneous strike on multiple targets during the Emperor's public address. Clark convened her inner circle. Torres, Walsh, the Emperor's trusted guard Commander Nixtar, and Ambassador Chen Wei. We'll let their lead elements enter position, Clark explained, then spring the trap during their attack preparation phase. Before they can strike, but after they've committed their forces. You're certain you can contain the threat? Chen Wei asked. Nothing is certain in war. But they expect standard Imperial response. We'll give them human adaptability instead. On the day of the planned attack, the capital seemed normal. But beneath the surface, Allied forces positioned themselves. Human ships commanded by Walsh maintained geosynchronous orbit. Torres led special operations teams in the sewers and maintenance tunnels. Clark's reformed Imperial Guards, now trained in adaptive tactics, secured key infrastructure. At noon, sensors detected mass movement toward the palace. The conspiracy had mobilized thousands, soldiers, civilians, supporters both willing and coerced. All units stand by, Clark commanded from the central operations room. Let them reach their assembly points. The Emperor watched multiple feeds showing armed groups converging. So many have been corrupted. Or deceived, Clark said, gently. Some follow orders without understanding their true purpose. 6 months after crushing Prince Velnar's conspiracy, Clark reviewed reports from across the Empire. Her reforms were working, but resistance grew stronger. 3 star systems had declared independence, claiming human influence corrupted imperial traditions. Queen Velsha of the Nexus Confederation stood in Clark's office, her delegation having arrived without warning. Her metallic skin caught the light as she spoke. Supreme Commander Clark, you've become quite the legend, the human who defies all precedent. What can I do for your majesty? Clark responded politely. You can stop corrupting a proud empire with your alien ways. Clark's guards tensed, but she remained calm. The Emperor chose these reforms. I merely implement his vision. The Emperor is beguiled by novelty. Velsha's voice dripped with disdain. I lead 7 systems that value tradition. They fear your influence spreads across the galaxy. Your concerns are noted, Your Majesty. However, security improvements have reduced terror incidents by 60% empire-wide. Your statistics mean nothing. Sacred customs eroded by a primitive species barely out of its own star system. That evening, intelligence reports confirmed Clark's suspicions. Nexus ships had entered Imperial space along 5 different vectors. They were testing boundaries, gathering data on the new defense protocols. They're planning something, Major Richard Torres said, spreading tactical displays across the conference table. Psychological warfare. They want to split the empire between modernizers and traditionalists. They're already succeeding, the Emperor noted grimly. The Council of Noble Houses met yesterday. They barely acknowledged my authority. Clark studied the patterns. The Nexus can't win a direct military confrontation. They need internal collapse. Make the Empire fear change more than stagnation. What do we do? Daniel Foster asked. He'd been promoted to Clark's second in command. We prepare for the real war. Not weapons, but hearts and minds. Elder Krathos, an ancient being older than recorded history, requested an audience with Clark. In his chambers filled with relics from countless civilizations, he shared wisdom. Young Commander, change always faces resistance. I've watched galactic powers rise and fall for millennia. The Nexus represents the final gasp of an old order. How do we convince people change isn't threat? Show them stagnation is death. The universe evolves. Species adapt or disappear. Clark left with more questions than answers. That night, Nexus operations intensified. Communication networks reported disruptions. Colonies along the border experienced mysterious equipment failures. Classic interference patterns, Dr. Emily Price concluded after analyzing sensor data. But there's something else. The disruptions target communications between human and Imperial installations specifically. They're isolating us, Clark realized, breaking our ability to coordinate. Ambassador Chen Wei burst into the command center. Crisis! Nexus agents just bombed a human trade outpost. 50 dead. The Outer Rim colonies are demanding withdrawal of Imperial forces. The situation escalated rapidly. News feeds across Imperial space showed footage of the explosion. Nexus propaganda claimed human security measures had made the outpost vulnerable. This is brilliant strategy, Captain Stephen Walsh admitted reluctantly. They make our presence seem like the problem, not the solution. Clark watched public opinion shift in real time. Citizens who'd supported reforms now questioned them. Colonial governors who'd welcomed human innovation suddenly hesitated. We need a response, Emperor Zarthok demanded. Now. Not what they expect, Clark cautioned. The Nexus wants retaliation. It fits their narrative of human aggression. Then what do you propose? Clark thought rapidly. We expose their operation, show the galaxy exactly what they're doing. Working around the clock, Clark's team pieced together the Nexus plan. Using captured communications and Elder Krathos's historical knowledge, they mapped the psychological warfare campaign. They've infiltrated media networks, Torres reported, seeding stories about human brutality, ancient footage of Earth wars taken out of context. They're building a narrative, Clark said. Humanity as conquerors, the Empire as victims who don't realize they're being conquered. The breakthrough came when Emily Price discovered a pattern in the communication disruptions. They're not random. The interference follows a grid pattern aligned with ancient Nexus religious sites. Religious sites? The Emperor questioned. The Nexus still follow the old ways. Their technology incorporates ritual geometric patterns. It's their weakness. They can't abandon tradition. With this knowledge, Clark prepared a counter-operation. Instead of military response, she chose information warfare. We document everything, she explained to her team. Every interference, every manipulation, every false narrative. Then we broadcast it all simultaneously. The operation required precise timing. Human ships positioned themselves throughout Imperial space. Clark's reformed guard secured planetary communication arrays. Earth intelligence services provided decryption algorithms for Nexus codes. On the chosen day, Clark waited in the operations center. Emperor Zarthok stood beside her, refusing to retreat to safety. Your Majesty, if this fails, my methods will be discredited. If this fails, Captain, my empire may fall regardless of methods. At exactly solar noon across the capital, the broadcast began. Every screen, every holodisplay, every communication device received the same data stream, documented evidence of Nexus manipulation. Intercepted communications showed Nexus agents bragging about bombings they blamed on humans. Video evidence revealed staged incidents designed to discredit Imperial reforms. Financial records proved massive funding to separatist movements. The reaction was immediate. In the Nexus Confederation, citizens demanded answers from their government. In Imperial space, the tide of public opinion shifted again. But the Nexus weren't finished. Queen Velsha addressed the galaxy directly. These fabrications prove human deception penetrates even Imperial intelligence. The Emperor is a puppet of alien interests. Clark anticipated this response. She had one final card to play. Elder Krathos, respected across multiple species, appeared on the holographic feed. I'm ancient. I've witnessed the rise and fall of empires. What I saw didn't match Nexus propaganda. I investigated independently. The Elder displayed his own evidence, collected secretly. He showed Nexus funds flowing to terrorist organizations. He revealed ancient texts describing similar manipulations in previous galactic conflicts. The Nexus calls the Empire weak for adapting, Krathos concluded. But adaptation preserved my species through cosmic disasters that destroyed inflexible empires. Zarthok doesn't weaken his throne by choosing merit over tradition. He strengthens it. The Elder's words carried tremendous weight. But the Nexus played their final hand. Since evidence means nothing to those corrupted by human influence, Queen Velsha declared, let strength decide truth. The Nexus Confederation invites any system to join us in breaking from Imperial control. Together we'll preserve true civilization. Within 24 hours, 2 more star systems declared for the Nexus. The Empire teetered on civil war. Clark found the Emperor staring at stellar maps, his forearms managing multiple data streams. "They force me to choose between war and collapse," he said quietly. "War isn't the only option. Please, Captain, no more unconventional strategies. The time for cleverness has passed." Clark understood his fatigue, but pressed on. "Your Majesty, the Nexus still think traditionally. They expect military escalation or diplomatic surrender. We give them neither. What then? We offer alliance." The Emperor's shocked expression was worth recording. Alliance? With those who would destroy us? Strategic confusion. Send messages to every Nexus system independently. Offer each a separate deal that benefits them more than the Confederation. Watch their unity crumble. Over the next weeks, Clark's team crafted specific proposals for each Nexus world. Trade agreements, technology sharing, diplomatic recognition. Each offer designed to appeal to local interests that differed from the Confederation's central government. The results exceeded expectations. 3 Nexus systems immediately requested private negotiations. Others demanded meetings with their leaders to discuss the offers. Queen Velsha found herself fighting to maintain control of her own alliance. "We're setting them against each other," Daniel observed with admiration. "No, we're showing them alternatives they already wanted," Clark corrected. "The Nexus held together through fear of change. We're offering controlled change they can choose." By month's end, the Confederation publicly split. 4 systems joined the Empire outright. 6 maintained independence but signed non-aggression pacts. Only Queen Velsha's core worlds remained hostile. The crisis reached its climax when Velsha mobilized her remaining military forces. "If diplomacy fails, force shall purify our path." Clark met the assembled Imperial War Council. Military leaders who once scorned her now sought her strategies. "Their conventional fleet is powerful," she acknowledged, "but they still think in established patterns." "How do we counter traditional tactics with reformed forces?" General Crix asked. The old warrior, humbled by events, had become Clark's unlikely supporter. "We don't counter, we confuse." Clark proposed dividing their fleet according to Nexus expectations. Ships arranged in classical defensive formations. 1 year after the Nexus War, Amanda Clark walked through the Imperial Academy. Young cadets of multiple species trained together, learning the new security protocols she'd developed. Imperial and human instructors taught side by side, sharing knowledge that once seemed impossible to combine. "Supreme Commander," a young alien cadet saluted crisply. "Thank you for yesterday's lesson on adaptive tactics." Clark smiled. "Remember, follow the basics but think beyond them." She continued her inspection, satisfied with the progress. The Academy now housed 500 cadets from 37 different species. The best minds the galaxy could offer, unified in protecting peace. Council Regent Thylon approached, his 6 eyes reflecting thoughtfulness. The old conservative had become one of reform's strongest advocates after witnessing their effectiveness. "Commander Clark, the treaty delegation, has arrived. Emperor Zarthok requests your presence." In the Grand Council chamber, diplomatic representatives from across the galaxy gathered. The Nexus systems, now independent but allied with the Empire, sent their ambassadors. Even former prisoners like Prince Velnar, pardoned for his cooperation. In exposing other conspirators, attended as an observer, Emperor Zarthok rose from his throne. Age had given him dignity rather than weakness. "Distinguished colleagues," he began, "we gather to finalize the Galactic Unity Accords. These papers will formalize our new understanding that strength comes from diversity and security from cooperation." Later, as leaders signed the historic documents, Director Sarah Brooks of Earth Special Operations shared a quiet moment with Clark. "You've changed everything," Brooks noted. "When you left for that Imperial assignment, no one imagined you'd reshape galactic politics." "I didn't. I just did my job differently. Your different approach prevented civil war and united formerly hostile powers." Clark watched the signing ceremony. Once, the sight of humans and Imperials working together seemed revolutionary. Now it appeared natural, essential. That evening, at a private dinner with close allies, the Emperor made an announcement. "I'm getting old. My son nears readiness for the throne. But the Empire still needs protection from threats we haven't yet imagined." He turned to Clark. "I want you as Supreme Guardian of the Realm, not just military security but advisor to the Crown, teacher of the next generation." Clark hesitated. "Your Majesty, Earth still needs my skills. The universe remains dangerous. Earth does need you," Captain Stephen Walsh interjected. "But Earth also needs a strong galactic alliance. Your influence here strengthens us all." Over the following months, Clark divided her time between Imperial duties and Earth commitments. She helped establish exchange programs, joint training exercises, and collaborative research projects that strengthened ties across species. Ambassador Chen Wei visited Clark in her new office at Imperial Command. "You realize what you've become? The first cross-species leader in galactic history. Labels don't matter, results do. History will see it differently. You've proven that species barriers are mental constructs. Your successes show cooperation beats prejudice." Clark looked at her desk display. It showed real-time security data from systems across the Empire. Former enemies now shared intelligence freely. The network she'd built reached beyond military. Applications into trade, science, and culture. Young Emperor Zarthok II requested guidance about ruling with new philosophies. In the royal gardens, Clark shared wisdom earned through hard experience. "People fear what they don't understand," Clark explained. "Your father's generation feared change because they only saw loss of tradition. Your generation must show them what they gain. But some still resist. The traditionalists whisper that we've become too dependent on alien influence. Let them whisper. Lead by example. When your people see prosperity, security, and advancement, whispers become irrelevant." News arrived of pirate attacks in the outer systems. Raiders had begun testing defenses, believing the Empire too changed to respond effectively. Clark assembled a task force combining Imperial Navy ships with human vessels. The mixed crews executed operations using integrated tactics that the Raiders couldn't predict or counter. The mission took 3 months. When the fleet returned victorious, they brought 50 captured pirate ships and valuable intelligence about criminal syndicates operating across multiple star systems. During the celebration, Elder Krathos addressed the returning warriors. The masked ancient being's presence lent gravitas to the moment. "You have proven what I've always known," he declared. "The universe favors adaptability. Rigid structures crack under pressure. Flexible ones bend and grow stronger." Major Richard Torres, now Director of Combined Forces Training, worked alongside Daniel Foster to implement new defense networks. Their joint operations integrated human and Imperial assets seamlessly. "Remember when humans were considered outsiders?" Torres mused during their planning session. "Hard to imagine now," Foster replied, reviewing fleet coordination protocols. "Clark showed us it was never about species. It was always about ability." The summer brought news of technological breakthroughs from collaborative research. Human and Imperial scientists, working together on quantum physics applications, developed new shield technology. The innovation improved both defensive capability and power efficiency. Dr. Emily Price led the joint research team. Her breakthrough came during a discussion with an alien physicist about different approaches to the same problem. "We thought differently about quantum fields," she explained to Clark. Combining perspectives revealed solutions neither species found alone. Queen Velsha, now a treaty ally, visited the capital for the first time since the war. She requested a private meeting with Clark. "I hated what you represented," Velsha admitted. "Change terrified me. I saw collapse where you saw growth. Fear is natural. Acting on fear without understanding is the mistake. You defeated us without destroying us. Your way preserved what mattered while eliminating what didn't. I respect that." The diplomatic breakthrough led to full cooperation between former enemies. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges flourished. The galaxy slowly healed from centuries of suspicion. Clark's influence extended beyond military matters. She advised on economic policies that benefited all species. She supported scientific initiatives that pushed knowledge forward. She championed education reforms that prepared young minds for a complex universe. 5 years after first protecting the Emperor, Clark stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Integration Center. The massive station orbited at the border between Imperial and human space, symbolizing their united future. Ambassador Chen Wei joined her. The treaties get signed tomorrow. Earth joins the Empire as a full member state, maintaining independence while coordinating defense and development. Your people accept this? After seeing what cooperation achieved, even the skeptics support it. You proved we're stronger together. The signing ceremony drew dignitaries from across the galaxy. Bitter enemies had become trading partners. Suspicious neighbors now shared technology. The old power structures had given way to merit-based leadership. Emperor Zarthok, near the end of his reign, shared final thoughts with Clark. You saved my life that first night, he said quietly. But you did something greater. You saved my empire's soul. You showed us stagnation is death, but adaptation is life. Your choice made it possible. Lesser rulers cling to tradition out of fear. You embraced change despite the risks. The galaxy Clark had entered as an outsider now welcomed human perspectives, as essential to its future. Pirates called her devil. Politicians called her revolutionary. History would call her many things. But Clark saw herself simply as someone who did her job differently. She adapted, innovated, and refused to accept artificial barriers as absolute. As a new generation took the helm, Clark knew her work continued. The universe held infinite possibilities and infinite dangers. But now the galaxy faced them united, stronger for its diversity. The stars held mysteries still. New species waited to be discovered. New threats would emerge. But for once, the galaxy approached its future with hope rather than fear. Clark watched the treaty documents pass between species, each signature a bridge between former divides. The human woman who'd terrified the galaxy had become its greatest hope for unity. Her comm unit signaled. Supreme Guardian Clark, unidentified ships detected near the outer rim. Possible new first contact situation. Clark smiled. There was always another mission, another challenge. She'd helped build a framework for handling whatever came next. The galaxy's protector network now included thousands of voices, all speaking together. Dispatch integrated fleet response team, she ordered. Representatives from Earth, the Empire, and allied states. Let's show these newcomers what cooperation looks like. As she prepared for yet another mission, Clark reflected on her journey. From protecting one emperor to helping reshape galactic civilization, from facing hatred to earning respect, from terror to hope. The galaxy had changed. The woman who had once seemed the Empire's greatest threat had become its greatest ally. And the future, richer for embracing diversity, stretched endlessly ahead. The stars still called. And Clark, supreme, guardian of a united galaxy, was ready to answer.